and welcome to Prime. Even as women journalists trudge the tough path that has taken them from covering flower shows to reporting from the war front, they still have to contend with the glass ceiling in the profession. Well, this comes from Tusha Mittal, who has recently awarded with the prestigious Chameli Devi Award in a new book that chronicles the stories of award-winning scribes. This journalist says that it continues to be difficult for women journalists to report in difficult situations. It is easier for a man in our field to get a story by just chatting with an official over a peg, but for us, we have to maintain that line, but yet get our information.
One thing which has seen an upward swing in journalism is the number of women reporters walking the tightrope of meeting the deadline, professional as well as personal, in the midst of dog-eat-dog atmosphere of being the first to get to the spot and report. After all, what does it entail to be a journalist, and that to a woman? Physically grueling hours day after day and being mentally tough. Whether it is Sonu Sheena running for her life during Godhra riots away from a volatile crowd, or Barkha Dutt, who reached Kargil, stayed in the bunkers and shared a loo with the dozen men of one unit. They have braved it in the midst of a lot of questions from their male counterparts about inappropriate use of soft power and thus maneuvering their careers. But the fact remains that contrary to the popular belief that women make good lifestyle journalists, some of India's top-notch investigative journalists happen to be from among the fairer sex.
Well, like any profession, journalism was also made a bastion. When women started entering this trade, there were defined boundaries that they could not cross. A lot, of course, has changed, but is there still a glass ceiling? That's what we're going to find out from our panel. Chandrasuta Dogra, Bureau Head, Outlook; Rajni Chopra, Principal Correspondent with the Indian Express; Shayada, the News Editor of Dainik Bhaskar; and Jyoti Kamal, the Senior Editor of CNN IPN. Well, thank you so much for being with us on our show tonight. Chandrasuta, if I begin with you, there's been a report which says that about 74% of our national dailies, if you look at them, are men in news, be it political report or business. In fact, and about 3% will be in sports journalism. Would you agree that it is male-dominated?
Yes, like any other profession, journalism does have more of men working. Although you find that at the lower levels, where it comes to field reporting and also on desk reporting, more and more women are getting in. But you'll find that the top editorial positions are still held mostly by the men, whether it is electronic media, whether it is the print, magazines, everywhere, with a few exceptions here and there. So there is a preponderance of men who dominate the top editorial positions, although the rest of the staff you might find more women. For instance, in Outlook, where I work, the top editorial positions are held by the men, although we have more women staff members on other. And
they are the head because they are heading, because they have they have the political news. They are doing major big news stories, hard news stories. So they have the nose for it. Would you say men are?
I wouldn't say that. It's just that to some extent I would put the blame on the women. Probably we don't push hard enough. There are women who do push, but I guess your dual responsibilities of running a house, so which makes some women pull back a little when it comes to the crunch, because you've got to put in longer hours of work.
Rashmi, would you agree to that? That you have to put in such long hours? And also the study says that 8 out of 10 newspapers have almost twice as many male editors than women editors. You hardly see the women editors.
I think the time has come when the change will happen. It will happen soon.
But so far, if you look at it now,
the glass ceiling primarily is in your head. It's in a man's head or a woman's head. If you push, if you're committed enough, you'll reach the top.
But now, with the current situation the way it is, and you just see more, especially doing your political news.
I would tend to agree with what Chandar has said, that women, they have responsibility of going back home and looking after the family more. But career-oriented women, I think they have done pretty well for themselves. Pakistan is a wonderful example. We have women journalists doing fantastically. In India too, more and more women are coming up, and they will reach the senior positions very soon. I'm confident of that.
शायद आप अपने व्यूज बताएं कि कितना मुश्किल रहा है to be there, get to the top. What do you say? What is the real situation? I mean, ये तो हमारे national dailies में ऐसा situation है. Regional papers में तो और भी मुश्किल होगा.
बिल्कुल मुझे लगता है جو سین ہے وہ بہت زیادہ الگ نہیں ہے سبھی اخباروں میں. اگر آپ دیکھیں الیکٹرانک کو اگر تھوڑا سا الگ کر دیں کیونکہ وہاں ویزیبل زیادہ ہیں چیزیں, پرنٹ میں وہ ویزیبل نہیں ہے. لیکن آپ ان اخباروں کی طرف دیکھیں جن کا لارجسٹ ریڈنگ ہے کنٹری میں, آپ انگلیوں پہ گن نہیں پائیں گے سینئر پوسٹ پہ جو ویمن ہیں وہاں. اگر آپ پورا اس کا ریڈرشپ کو اوور آل دیکھیں, آپ پورے انڈیا کی انگلش ہندی دونوں کو مکس کر لیجئے اور آپ دیکھیے کتنا پرسنٹیج جائے گا. وہ گنتی میں شاید آئے گا ہی نہیں, اتنا کم ہے وہ. اور ایسا نہیں ہے کہ کہیں پہ بھی ٹیلنٹ کو اکنالج نہیں کر رہے ہیں یا موقع نہیں ہے, پر صحیح بات ہے جو سیلنگ آپ نے کی نا مین ویمن دونوں کے لیے, ویمن کے لیے اٹ از مچ مور کلوزر ٹو دا ہیڈ. مے بی سی وین یو انٹر, جب آپ رپورٹر ہوتے ہیں, سب ایڈیٹر ہوتے ہیں, اوکے, آپ تھوڑا آگے جاتے ہیں, آپ پیرامڈ میں گھسنے لگتے ہیں, اور جیسے پاور شیئرنگ ہوتی ہے آپ ٹائٹ ہوتے جاتے ہیں سچویشنز, اور آپ کے لیے اور مشکل ہوتا جاتا ہے. بہت سارے لوگ ایک لیول پہ آ کے لڑکیاں چھوڑ دیتی ہیں, شادی ہو جاتی ہے, چلے گئے آگے.
I think if a woman doesn't draw back,
ہاں,
you know, it's essentially that she draws back herself, thinking مجھے یہ کرنا ہے.
Because the situation is such that
it is not.
It's a question of priority also, no?
Okay.
پرائرٹی اوکے. دوسری بات یہ بھی ہے نا کہ ٹھیک ہے ہم نے مانا کہ اس کے پاس فیملی بھی ہے, اس کو ڈبل ذمہ داریاں نبھانی ہیں, ٹھیک ہے, لیکن جو لوگ ان چیزوں کے باوجود ایکسل کر رہے ہیں, بہت زیادہ محنت پٹ آن کر رہے ہیں, اس کے باوجود کیا ان لوگوں کو صحیح جگہ مل پاتی ہے؟ وہ بھی نہیں ملتی ہے بہت سارے کیسز میں. لیکن ہاں ایک چیز اور ہے کہ اگر آپ اپنی قابلیت اسٹیبلش کر دیتے ہیں تو وہ چاہے یا نہ چاہیں آپ وہاں بنے ضرور رہتے ہیں. تو اس جگہ پہ بنے رہنا جو ہے اپنی کے ایگزیکٹ نیچے بنے رہنا از ا کنٹینیوس ہیمرنگ کہیں نہ کہیں ہو رہی ہوتی ہے کہ یو ہیو 1 2 3 10. جو لوگ آپ کی مرضی کے بنا آگے نہیں آ رہے ہیں لیکن یو ہیو, وہ کہیں نہ کہیں ان کو سمجھ آتا ہے. مجھے لگتا ہے ایسا کافی جگہوں پہ ہو رہا ہے. آپ صرف چندی گڑھ کو دیکھیے, یہاں پہ 10 سے 12 اخبار ہیں. کتنے اخبار میں وومن ایڈیٹر ہیں؟
Not even one.
کسی ایک میں بھی نہیں ہے. کیا ایک بھی آدمی فیمیل اس قابل نہیں ہوگی؟ آف کورس ہوگی, شاید کئی بار زیادہ قابل.
آپ کو لڑنا پڑا کافی اپنے؟
نہیں, مجھے نہیں لڑنا پڑا.
اگر آپ نے آگے آپ بولو کہ مجھے ایڈیٹر بننا ہے تو
مجھے لگتا ہے میرا ٹائم آنے والا ہے بہت جلدی.
That's wonderful. But it's been a tough fight any which way.
Yes, it is tough. ڈیلی کی فائٹ ہوتی ہے, ڈیلی فائٹ ہوتی ہے.
کیونکہ نیوز آپ یہ کہہ دیں گے کہ فیچرز کر لو, اس کا
ہاں یہ آپشن تو ہمیشہ ہی ہوتا ہے. جب آپ کو نیوز میں ٹکے رہنا ہے تو ہمیشہ آپ کو کہا جائے گا ارے یہ کرو نا, یہ بہت اچھا ہے, اور وہ بہت بار کرتی بھی ہیں لڑکی.
I think it's for the woman to take a call.
Yes.
If she wants to do hard news, there is no stopping her.
Nothing to stop her. I don't really go with this, you know. If she wants to do it and she can easily prove herself, nobody really stops her from doing that.
The point here is, she wants to do it, yes. That she can get there, it's getting a little harder. It's easier for a man because he anyway is accepted.
You know,
he's anyway with the boss.
The people who are deciding it, the bosses are men. So I think it's easier for them to kind of, you know, get along or have a some kind of an equation with their male juniors.
Yes.
You know, there's a thing they say in journalism. A story finds its place. An able person will find his or her place. If you don't give the place to the person will leave. Then the person will find it elsewhere. Then
So that much harder, you know, because then imagine leaving out, getting out of one organization, joining another organization.
You climb higher. It's not harder. It's your journey. You climb.
So you have to be committed enough. Half the time it's the women who are not committed enough.
Jyoti, what would you have to say to this? Do you think women, are not committed to go there, to get into that? I'm not talking about CNN, IBN, where you'll say, yes, because they're part owners, so all your colleagues, senior colleagues are owners and in very senior positions. But looking at journalism, you've been in the field for a while. Yes. How many women journalists do you come across when you're going out and doing some stories?
Okay, all right. I mean, there are definitely challenges which have been highlighted here, and when I talk about our organization, I wouldn't say that because they're part owners and all that, because we are a relatively new organization. I mean, we have been in the business for about 6 years now. Being a new organization, times are changing. When you talk about the top editorial positions being dominated by men, that's because those men entered the profession 20 years back when things were different. Now things are different and women are gradually pushing up into the system. And Barkha Dutt, who had entered the system earlier in NDTV, now is in a dominant position in NDTV. I mean, she's in a fairly senior position.
She's one icon.
Yes, she's an icon. She's an icon. In our organization, women are all across. I mean, I would say they are in more senior positions than men are. I mean, they're more visible. They're out there in the field. They're doing an equally competent job. So, I mean, times are changing. It's a totally merit-oriented system. It's not that those women are being promoted because they are women. It's not as if men are being promoted just because they're men. It's a totally merit-driven organization. You can speak well, you can get the news, you are kind of you can handle the situation better, and the women are getting promoted absolutely. So times are changing. Of course, we are living with a certain amount of baggage. We have a certain kind of a social and a cultural past. But if you talk about ground level reporting, like if we are out there in Hisar and there are these Jats who are out on the streets and protesting, well, I don't see any women out there. I don't see any women journalists out there for the reason that society is still dangerous for women, in the sense that they're not protected, they're not taken care of. At the end of the day, there is a risk involved to being a woman journalist out there in such dangerous situations. But again, even in those situations, women have excelled. But yes, the challenges are there. I mean, one wouldn't rule it out, and organizations are to some extent apprehensive. They are scared. They don't
take on the responsibility.
Yes,
organizations who are more apprehensive,
they are apprehensive
than the women.
Yes.
Everywhere, a woman who's wanted to, anyone who's wanted to do it has gone ahead and done it.
No, yes, they have gone ahead and done it, but there have been problems. Women have been mobbed and women have got into trouble in such kind of...
the same thing has happened with the men too.
It is happening
for the men, it's a purely, I would say, a physical kind of a trauma. For a woman, it can turn into an emotional trauma, and maybe it could kind of extend to something else. So organizations are scared, they're apprehensive, they don't want to expose women to those front lines of conflict. So there, yes, I feel that women do get the raw edge of the
for electronic media than for print.
Yes, because in print you can control the situation, in electronic media you can't control the situation, because you've got to be there on the spot when it is happening.
You are in the thick of it.
But I personally believe that, I mean, I strongly believe, not personally, I strongly believe that across media today, women are in a dominant position. It's totally kind of a merit-oriented
No, but even
system.
your channel is headed by a man. It's not headed by a woman.
As I pointed out, 20 years back, times were different. They all joined the profession 20 years back when there were more men. They got more exposure, they got more experience. But today we see that second rung of leadership in our organization is more women-dominated. There are more women there. And I feel that in another 5 years, you'll certainly see women editors at the top. So times are changing.
So you feel that women are not stepping back, they're not compromising?
Absolutely not. Why should they compromise? Why should they compromise? I mean, there's no compromise that's taking
And the
place.
media is a very it's not specific to gender. You know, you're a correspondent.
Yes.
You're not a male correspondent, or you're not a female correspondent. If Barkha Dutt wanted to go to cover the war, she went ahead and did it. And we all look up to her today.
But then how many are Barkha Dutts in that
So
context?
it's the woman's problem if she's not a Barkha Dutt.
Look, at the end of the day, the world is 50% women. Okay, so 50% news, logically speaking, should be women. And 50%
in
of
Punjab,
news...
you're talking about 50% women?
Maybe 49%,
Haryana,
51%.
Punjab, or the entire North India?
49, 51, but it's still somewhere around 50. So the point is that 50% of the news, I mean, has to logically go to women. Now, to fetch that kind of news, a woman reporter is always at a position of much more advantage when she has to empathize with a woman who's been a victim of any kind of crime, a woman who's been a victim in any kind of a natural kind of a disaster. It's the women who can get the emotions out. A man is totally disadvantaged in those situations. So,
would you agree to that?
Let me make an admission myself. If I haven't gone to cover the war, it was me to take a call on it. I did not tell my organization that I want to go to Kashmir. The Express wouldn't have stopped me. But did I make the offer? Did I tell them that I want to go? So why should I not blame myself first? Rather than blaming the organization, that the organization doesn't put me at the top? I took the easy choices. Why did I?
I would throw the entire ball back to society's court. It's for society to ensure that women are taken care of. It's not for us to kind of figure out who to take care of.
Why should
in the sense that a woman who is disadvantaged in a situation in terms of field reporting, it's the problem with the people who are there, not with that particular reporter.
No, I wouldn't agree with that. Listen, see, whether it's a man or a woman out on the field reporting, I think once you demonstrate that you're here to do a job, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It matters. I've seen the way
I've
people
been to
react.
the remotest of areas in the middle of the night, conflict situations, curfew situations. I've reached Jammu at 1 o'clock at night with no place to stay in. And I mean, I just had to run around, look for a hotel, and there was just one hotel open in entire Jammu. And those chaps told me, "Ki wo piche se you'll have to go." This was during the Amarnath agitation.